This is my bike commute that I'd like to share. I've been doing this commute for 25 years now and I never get tired of it. I just love this path, which is right behind my house. And the reason I like this path is it's not only totally separate from cars, it is away from cars. There's no road right next to you. It's totally quiet. It's smooth. It's paved, and it even has lighting, which you can see. It doesn't get used that much. Right now it's 6:30 in the morning, November 11th. It's Veterans Day. I happen to live in beautiful Santa Barbara, California, which is relatively mild. It's about 50 degrees now. I realize other parts of the country are already starting to get snow or rain. You can see that it's not very green because we haven't had rain since last year. On the left is a golf course, Hidden Valley Golf Course, and this is the first bridge. It's a wood bridge. On the left of the bike path is a dirt trail that you can also take if you have a mountain bike. And on the right are housing. I'll speed it up now because it's pretty much the same. I should add some technical details. I'm taking this video with a iPhone i7 that I have mounted to my helmet. So I'm trying to look ahead, but every once in a while I do look to the side and hope it's not too distracting. I don't know if you saw that sign, but it said, "Dogs must be on leash." That sign is sort of a tribute to me because my one and only accident happened 24 years ago on this path when a dog ran in front of me and I crashed, sort of trying to avoid it. Anyway, most of the people are more concerned about the dog than me, but the dog did just fine. I broke my hip in that thing. Anyway, to make a long story short, the Bike Coalition, Ralph Fertig, who was in charge at the time, used my case to push to have those dogs must be on leash signs. Have limited effectiveness because people usually have a leash on their dog and they walk to the path, and as soon as they get to the path they're free of cars and they feel their dog is safe, they remove the leash and let the dogs run. So there's still a problem of unleashed dogs here. I used to try to stop and tell people they really should have a leash, but after about the second person who was hostile to me, I sort of gave up on that and I just basically come almost to a crawl when I'm going around the dog, and I'm super cautious, so that's my solution. The other hazard on this bike path was there used to be these poles, steel poles that would keep cars off the path. And the idea was good. They thought that the poles would make it safe for bikes by keeping cars off, but in the end they were much more dangerous because many people hit those poles, and it was very unforgiving. And there's no way a car would drive on this. It'd be pretty obvious because the path is narrower than a car, there's narrow bridges, so it didn't really solve a problem that needed to be solved. And so finally, in great insight and wisdom, they removed the poles. These lights, I should point out, are solar power. So if you look carefully, you can see a solar panel and a battery on each one. So the advantage is they're cheap to install. They just bore a hole, drop them in, so no wiring required. So the labor savings more than paid for the solar panel and battery. The savings of not having to dig a trench and run power there. Yeah, another cyclist, but he's on a race bike, he's going fast, looks like I'm never going to catch him. But anyway, at least there's one other person on this road. I should point out that the freeway is pretty congested at this time. There's two main arteries through Santa Barbara, Hollister Avenue and the freeway, and both of them are pretty crowded, even at this hour. And on the bike path, there basically are no stops or delays, so it doesn't really take me that much longer. This bike ride is 7 miles, and if I'm on my fast bike and riding hard, I can do it in 24 minutes. And sometimes just driving that 7 miles can take 20 minutes, so there's not much of a penalty. Typically, I use my mountain bike, which is more comfortable and slower, and I feature on another video. That's the bike I'm on now. I thought I would give a smoother ride for the camera, but it is slower. It takes me over 30 minutes on this bike. We just crossed the street. You may have thought, well, didn't he blow through that stop sign? Well, it's called preserving momentum. I am very careful. I've been commuting a total of 40 years and never had a collision with a car. So when I approach an intersection, I always prepare to brake, and then I look, I listen, and if it's all clear, I just go through it. It's actually safer in some intersections to just roll through it than to stop, because sometimes there's barely enough time to get through an intersection if a car just approaches. So by preserving your momentum, you can get through the intersection faster. Of course, the key to safe riding is to be prepared to stop if there is a car. You might also notice to the right is agricultural. They're growing usually vegetables and flowers there, but they are gearing up to grow more and more marijuana. Unfortunately, our local supervisors, county supervisors, have been pretty much bought off by the marijuana industry, and Santa Barbara is becoming a marijuana mecca. So there's marijuana fields and marijuana stores. Straight ahead are some palm trees, and that is the Pacific Ocean. We're approaching Goleta Beach. To the right is the highway that goes into University of California, Santa Barbara. There's an interesting story behind that narrow section of the bridge. See, this was an existing bridge and the bike lane wasn't there. So they just, instead of building a new $50 million bridge, they just squeezed in the bike lane, which was creative and good economic solution. I'll point out another bridge soon that was not the case. Coming up here is what I call the Cadillac Bridge. This bridge was a momentous effort. There was a bridge here, and they tore it down and built this beautiful, over-designed bridge here. It's nice, but it's a lot of taxpayer money went into this. So we have a nice wide bike lane, nice wide bridge, huge barrier, nice stone thing here in the way, which I just cut off that corner. This is Goleta Beach with a horseshoe court to the right. Now in the summer this would be totally full, but it is November and not many people at the beach at 6:30 in the morning in November. It's one of the few beaches in California that's easy to park and free parking, so it fills up. It's been relatively flat. That bike path meanders alongside a storm drain, so it's basically at sea level, dropping a foot or two every 100 feet. This is the first and only significant hill. This is going up to the bluffs that the University of California sits on. Some of you may be riding stationary bikes watching this, so start pedaling hard. Here comes the hill. To the right is the university property. Notice that it's irrigated. That's our tax dollars at work. It's beautiful green, even though it hasn't rained in about a year. There's water on the bike path from overwatering. To the left is the native vegetation here, which is almost like a desert, just sandy. Now we're going to cut through the university. This is probably the most dangerous part on the bike ride, just because the university students are what should I say, distracted. They're talking, they're on their cell phones, they have full headsets on. I think one of the keys to my safe riding record is that I'm always pretty focused on the ride. I would never listen to earphones or earbuds or cell phone while I'm riding. I'm using all my senses. I'm smelling, I'm looking, and I'm listening. Look, I'm looking. The car's all clear. I did mention smell. It's just funny that I can smell people's aftershaves and perfume going both directions. Can't do that in the car. More irrigated grass here, and these little roundabouts are kind of worthless, but the campus does get pretty full. If it's a peak time, like 9 o'clock or 2 o'clock or noon, there's a lot of cyclists here. That's why I like coming early in the morning. Pretty much I have the bike path to myself through campus. Here's a chemistry building. We just went by the physics department. One of my sons was in the physics department here, and couldn't talk him into bike riding very often. This is about the halfway point for me going to work, and he could have been on this nice path, 15 minutes, been at the physics lab. But instead, he drove about 20 minutes, parked, paid $7 a day parking. Just didn't make sense. See that bike on the ground there? That is a rental bike. The problem with rental bikes is people don't care about them. They get abused, just like rental cars. They get abused, they get left on the ground. There's more of these rental bikes, so they made a big push at UCSB with electric scooters and the bikes. The scooters pretty much got outlawed just because it was just too dangerous. But the university tolerates these bikes. That was a nice underpass, so that there was a busy road over that, so instead of having a stop sign, they just made that tunnel. It's really wonderful. On my 25 years of doing this commute, it's amazing how every like 5-10 years I'll find some improved route. This is a route that I've only been doing about 10 years. And instead of staying on this path and going by all these newly constructed dorms, I take this frontage road. This helps me avoid a lot of students coming in and out of their dorms. And I pick up this side bike path that's the route to the recreational facility. And then I turn into this parking lot and cut across this parking lot. The interesting thing about this parking lot is it has probably the largest solar panels I've ever seen. That roof there, it's all solar panels. There's a few electric car charging stations too. But this is a huge, I'd say 200 meter long. There's 3 of these panels. It's kind of nice because if it's a hot day, I can ride under here in the shade, and if it's raining, I get a little break. Yeah, I do try to ride year-round. In fact, I had a pretty good record of not missing many days, even in the rain. But I did miss quite a few days. I think it was last year, just because of smoke. I think I missed more days because of smoke from forest fires than from rain. This is a little dirt stretch here. This little shortcut pops me out of the campus and onto a county bike path. This path isn't quite as good as the other one because there is a road next to it, but you're still separated from traffic. These are all considered Class 1 bike paths. To the right of me is the Santa Barbara Municipal Airport. I should disclose that this bike path I've been taking is not the shortest route to work. I can take surface streets and cut off about a mile. And if I'm in a real hurry, I'll do it, but it's just not worth it. Every time I do it, it's just not worth it. It literally only saves 3 minutes, and because there's so many lights that you need to stop for, that it's just not worth it, because it's the risk of a traffic accident with the car is probably 1,000 times greater. I used to ride in traffic more, but as I get older and I see more and more distracted drivers, I just really hesitate to do that much riding in the streets. It seems like at least 1 out of 2 people is either messing with their phone, looking at their phone, doing something. And you can see this easily from a bike, because you're sitting up pretty high and you're looking down in people's cars, and you can see they're always preoccupied with their phones. Well, that's the last of my Class 1 protected bike path. I need to make a left here onto this main street called Hollister Avenue. One of the nice things in Santa Barbara is there are cameras at the intersections that will detect bicyclists. So a lot of older cities will have the wire built in the concrete that will not detect a cyclist, because you're just not big enough to set it off. But these cameras are really well made, and they'll pick up a cyclist and change the light for you. We're just coming up to my office. I work for Raytheon, which is a good backer of cyclists. We have showers, and we also have a secure bike storage area covered, so that makes it nice. And we are hiring. Here's a recruiting poster for Raytheon right there. And that's about it. I hope you're enjoying this video and you're on your stationary bike pedaling away with me. That's my driveway. About a half